All right, so we're going to get started because if we start too late, it means that we're going to go too far over. So just grab a seat. Grab a seat, guys. So it's going to be a little bit disruptive as the guys walk in, but we didn't have as long for lunch as what we'd planned, so I understand the guys are going to be late. But the session I'm going to do for you guys, we've only got an hour on this, so we're going to have to get stuck into it very, very quickly. It's all about how to run a successful workshop. Now, we've done a few of these. I believe this is number 28 that we've done here in Wollongong, so we are a little bit well-versed on how to run a workshop. Obviously, I do have the secret weapon, which is my beautiful wife up the back there, Megan. So we're going to be hiring Megan out for you guys. So if you do want to hire Megan, she's going to be $5 an hour. If you do want to run workshops, yeah, $5. No, I haven't actually told her that. But no, I do have a secret weapon. And one of the things that we will focus on with running a workshop is the support and the structure that you need to run a successful workshop. If you do not have the structure, you basically, you're going to have to be very agile and you have to think things up on the go. We don't want that. We want things to be planned rather than to be thinking about it all the time. So just go to the pages in your workbook, which is my section. And whilst you're doing that, I want to share a story with you that that I heard the other day, and it's about a lobster. Basically, not sure if you guys are aware, but I wasn't that. When a lobster's born, it's born with a certain size shell. Now, when the lobster starts to grow, the shell becomes quite uncomfortable. And it gets bigger and bigger, and the shell becomes tighter and tighter. So what happens after a time, the lobster goes and hides under a rock in the deep depths of the ocean. And whilst it's under that rock, away from prey, the shell removes itself and he starts to grow a new shell. So then basically, once that new shell is formed, the lobster then comes out and goes and continues on with his new life again. But then the lobster continues to grow. So as the lobster continues to grow again, that shell that was once comfortable now becomes a little bit tighter. And it becomes tighter and tighter as the lobster continues to grow. So once again, when it becomes too tight and too uncomfortable, the lobster then has to go under the rock, safe from prey, and he removes the shell. This is a true story. I didn't know this about lobsters. And whilst it's under that rock, a new shell forms, and it's big enough for its new body, right? How that is relevant for us in this session is that running workshops is something that will stretch us. It is not something that we will necessarily be comfortable with, and it's something that is easier to not do than it is to do, and it's something that's very easy to stop doing once you've started and you don't get the results you want. All right, so just like the lobster, as it grows, it has to evolve into something else. It has to get a bigger shell as it expands and becomes uncomfortable, because that's what happens when you grow, when you do things that are new, when you do things that are different, it will become uncomfortable. But just like with a lobster, we need to change and evolve with that uncomfortability. We need to keep going, we need to be structured, and we need to have a format to how we're going to do things. So, does everybody agree that in some way, shape or form that running workshops is going to be good for their business? Does anybody disagree? Brian? Yep? You just can't see where it is? Right. So if it's not going to be a workshop for you guys, perhaps it can be, sorry? An ice cream workshop? Well, perhaps it could be in the framework of a meeting. Because what we're going to do is we're going to work on frameworks. So even if it's not going to be out running workshops, maybe it's about pitching to a business or an organisation who, it's a big contract and you're trying to win it. All right, there's one or two ways that you can do it. You can go in there and sit, and maybe you've got to do a pitch to them, and you can just make stuff up as you go and say, I am XYZ from this place, and this is what we do. All right, we can do that, and you'll probably do really well. But then sometimes if you've got a framework in how you do that pitch, then that might be more helpful than just walking in there and just delivering. Does that make more sense? Yeah. Yeah, great. Right, so Very, very, first off, so why, for everybody, that most people in the room, why is a workshop, why would running a workshop be important for you? And I'll make a note of some of these. Just yell them out.
Get the message out.
Get the message out.
I think it sort of bets yourself down as well as being a leader in the industry. Even
Right.
if it's a portion of what you do, so say with Symbio,
Yes.
you're doing marketing or horticultural or something like that, sort of does set you up as
An influencer, a leader. Kevin, yeah, perfect. Because it is very simple. We get caught up in this social media that's happening. At the moment, everybody can they can do a Facebook Live. Anybody can post, I'm sitting in business class, flying to LA again for another important meeting. Social media gives us the ability to connect really quickly, but it also can enable people to give a false representation of who they are. I bet you guys have probably never seen that, but sometimes I see that through my Facebook feed. Ross. Yeah, right. I know that guy. But positioning yourself as a leader with a workshop is a little bit different. Because once again, when people are zigging, we're going to zag. When people are doing X, we're going to do Y. We don't want to sit in the mixer with everyone else. We want to separate ourselves, to stand out in a noisy crowd. All right, what else is there? So positioning to get the message out. What else is there? Dorso? Education. How so?
I suppose it's similar to helpful marketing, isn't it? You're marketing to whether it's your staff or your customers or your peers, whatever it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Leverage. What do you mean about leverage, Phil?
Well, it's just as easy to talk to 100 as it is to 1.
Right. It's just as easy to talk to 100 as it is to 1. So we can have a one-on-one meeting, and we might be successful in that meeting. Or we run a workshop where we might have 100 people in a room, and we convert 20% of the room to buy our product or service. We've gone from converting one person 100%, where we go 20%, 20 people. Absolutely. What's a few more? Yeah, Tim. Demonstrating expertise. Perfect. Supplementary income. Yeah, who said that? Yeah, nice, Kevin. Perfect. Second income.
Understanding key issues in the group.
Okay, so feedback. Yeah, research.
Exploration.
Exploration.
Exploration in relation to
Yeah.
what they see is important and actually building around what their issues are, not what you will actually throw.
Right. So sometimes what we perceive the challenge to be with our industry is actually different to the actual challenge. Because sometimes we are not associated with, the people that are in there who we're trying to help. So just by running a workshop, that we can actually be connected to the people. One of the things that we do not get on social media is that physical connection. And I feel like when you can stand opposite someone or opposite a group, it gives you greater connectivity, which, builds relationships. But at the end of the day, I think essentially that's what business is about, isn't it? It's about building relationships. Excellent. What's one more?
Creating content.
Creating content. Tell me about that, Andrew.
Creating something that's of value to someone who might be interested in your business.
Right. Sort of like recording these things. Exactly. Creating content. Being able to use that to then not only deliver to a room of 40 people or 30 people, being able to then scale that up to have the broader vision to be able to share that with others. All right. Another few things that I thought of was you could run courses. When you run workshops and you record an event like this, you can start to position yourself as an expert. You can actually package it up into 6 different courses, which you can then, supplement as a second income, or you can make that your main income if you get really, really good at it. Yep. So delivering workshops is actually a really good strategy to help for positioning as an income, but also for connectivity and to build relationships. Most importantly, though, I think it's important to stand out from the crowd. It's easy to do the Facebook stuff. It's easy to do the webinar stuff. It's easy to do a lot of other things. But I was just talking to someone down the back of the room just now, and they just sort of said running workshops, we used to do them. It was really hard, so we stopped. And I said, well, that's good. I think the harder the better. We do not want this to be easy. We want this to be as difficult as possible. As long as you guys have got the staying power to stick with it, so that as everybody drops off, you're the last man standing. Phil?
If I can add to that, I hope this is where we're going with that.
Sure. But if we're not, I'm sure it's helpful.
The biggest thing is consistently getting bumps on seats.
Right.
Because when they're there, the conversion rate goes through.
Yeah, so Phil said it's about consistently getting bums on seats. Anybody who's run workshops before knows how difficult it is to get people in the room. It's the only thing. Everybody's, there's people who have got the knowledge, but the things that stops them from doing a workshop is not getting people in the room. Have you guys ever had that where you don't get people in the room when you've run workshops? Has anybody else done workshops and don't get anybody in the room? Yep. Share story, very, very first breakthrough for business boot camp I did. I think it cost us, one of the things we will talk about is partnerships, but this one cost us $8,000, just shy of $8,000. Got the room, got the video, got everything. I flew speakers in. We had 6 speakers: Ari Galper, Steve Brossman. We had Jet Xavier. So we had some really, really good speakers. 6-week lead-in, did everything right by the book. We had 1 paying person. I'm just like, well, I'm doing everything right. But the thing is, you can't just come in and go, here I am, guys, start paying me cash. Here I am, I'm ready now. It doesn't work like that. There's a whole process that you've got to go through of building credibility. And the first one's probably not going to work. The second one's probably not going to work that well. Third one, fourth one, fifth one. It's something that you're going to continually work on. But I had 1 paying person come along to that boot camp. And then I just ringing my mates, everybody who I knew in business through networking, anything, just come, please just come. We ended up getting like 18 people in the room. And I sat down the back of the room just going, wow, what have you done? This is no good. The room looked all right, but I was just going, you've just really put yourself out there and you've been smashed. If you believe in what you're doing though, you push on, you find a way to refine it, and you just plan the next one. So one of the things that we're going to talk about right now, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 very, very good reasons there to run a workshop. So what I want to do for you guys is give you a bit of a framework that I use when I run a workshop. The first one is all about logistics. All right, so I've given you, if you look in your section, I've given you 2 sheets. I've given you the one that I'm going to work on today, and then I'm going to ask you guys to fill in your own. All right, but I firstly want to demonstrate how I'm doing it right now, so that you can actually see how I've broken down, how I've got a structure. If you can stick to a structure when you're delivering a workshop, it just makes it so much easier. Take the thinking out of it. Every time you need to think about something, it makes it difficult. You think about it once, you put a structure in place, and it's done. You refine it, you improve it, but you don't ever have to actually start from scratch again. Does that make sense? All right, so basically we've got 4 quadrants there. All right, I've got my topics, which we'll look at in a second, so don't worry about your topic yet. The hardest thing is, and this is where the commitment comes in, it's the logistics of it. It's committing to a calendar. So anybody who's in our VIP group will know that by the middle of 2018, we've got our 2019 calendar done. By June, every year, we've got the following year fully mapped out. And we commit to those dates. Nothing can come into those dates. We are committed. We've even set themes for the 4 events that we run. All right, it's making a commitment. All right, so are you guys ready to get stuck in? Yep, because we don't have heaps of time. So I want to get stuck into this so we've got something tangible. So you'll see I've got a 2018 calendar there. Who's committed? Actually, let me see a show of hands. Who is committed to running a workshop this year? It's a few. Is there anybody who's not sure? Who said that workshops are good, but they're just not for me? Yep, a few? All right. So for the people that are committed, thanks for your honesty. What we need to do is commit to a date. That's why I've got 2 calendars in there. I've got 2018, 2019. Once it's in there, it stays in there. You need to look at a time, you need to have some sort of strategy in behind your planning. So what we do, we go February, May, August, November. February, May and August are all the third weeks of the month. And then November, we bring it to the first week of the month because everything starts to get busier towards the end of November, December. All right, so there's a rationale behind the decisions we've made. Initially, when we started doing the boot camps, they were done on a Friday and Saturday. So we used to lose people because they used to want to be at home on Saturdays. So then we changed it to Thursday, Friday. All right, no problem. We tried it. It didn't work so good. Thursday, Friday was better, so we adapted. Easy. All right, so for those of you who are going to commit to a workshop, I want you just to commit to a date. I want you to look at a day. I want you to, so just go through the calendar. Just put it in there. Just say, I'm going to do a workshop. Don't do it at the end of June. It's the end of financial year. Don't do it during the school holidays. That's a nightmare. Phil?
I'm starting the webinars
Yes.
on the 6th of August.
Right.
But I haven't set dates for what I wanted my eventual things for one-day workshops.
Right. Okay. Well, then we're just going to put it in the diary. So if you've got things that are happening, start putting them in this calendar here. Start identifying what are the dates where you're out. You're off. You just can't be. If you're doing webinars every second Tuesday, then put them in your calendar. All right. So even if this isn't about workshops for you and you don't think this is relevant, this is my business. This is what I do. So this is why this is important to me. But even if you don't think that running a workshop is relevant for you, this is about planning. This is about being organised. This is about setting something in motion and setting a date aside where nothing can get in the way. Excuse me. All right, so I want you to do that. I want you to have a look at the calendar. Who's going to commit to a date? Anyone? Mossy, where are you?
27th. Thursday's 27th of September, just before school holidays.
Thursday, 27th of September. Beautiful.
Steve, I guess my question was,
Yes,
are you treating a webinar the same as a workshop?
we can. We can have a complementary series of webinars that leads into a workshop.
Yeah.
So if we were going to use the Gary Vaynerchuk analogy, jab, 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 right hook. So the webinars are the jabs and the workshops the right hook.
Is Moxie talking about a one-day workshop or?
Okay, so we're actually going to look at the duration of the workshops, first of all. What was yours, Sandra? Wednesday, 24th of October. Beautiful. Anybody else want to commit to a date? Yeah.
I'm just wondering, can I use this as a promotion in my workshop?
Yeah, absolutely. Megs, can I have a glass of water, please? Absolutely. Whatever you want it to be, it'd be perfect. And you could do that quarterly. So if you want to do, whatever it is, find out what the metric it is, but you've got to commit to it. You've got to say, I'm going to do these things, and know that do not commit to one, commit to a series, because the first one's not going to work. Thanks. I haven't coughed for like 2 weeks. Get me on stage and here I go. Phil's the 8th of September. It's a Saturday. Okay.
I'm going to pick it for a whole day, so my target will be mum and dad.
Right. Okay. So mum and dad's generally, guys, bit of feedback for Phil. Mum and dad's weekend or weekday? Sport. Killer. Depends what older parents, my age, 40, 41?
35 to 55.
Okay, sport. That's going to rule everybody out. If they've got kids from 6 to...
4 days Saturday, we're at school.
Yeah, same with us. That's out. We can't do anything. Otherwise, we want to make it smooth for people to be able to do anything with you. All right, so if you're not looking at a workshop, make this a webinar for you. Guys, if you want to be seen, if you want to stand out, do not just sit on your hands and look at me like this is not relevant for you. Make this relevant for you. You can either tune out and say this is not important, or you can tune in and say, how does this work for me? like Gordana, perfect. So let's talk about frequency. How often are we going to do these things? Bossy, how often are we going to do it? We can't just do one. We got to commit to a series.
I think it's going to be 3 a year. But
Perfect.
Yeah.
3 a year. Just look at the dates.
Obviously, strategy behind that.
Yeah. Yep.
How long will the workshop go for?
I'll wait for the boss.
Yeah, we're getting to that. So we're going to get to that. We're good. First of all, we organise our calendar. Step one is we commit to a date. You could say, right, come hell or high water, I am doing that thing. All right. Generally, 6 weeks before your event or webinar or whatever it is, or 4 to 6 weeks, you will start to promote it. That's why it's so important to not just look at one. If you're going to do 3, put them in your calendar. So Mossy, look at the 3. That's why I put 2018, 2019 calendar there. All right? I just didn't do 1 year. If you do not do it now and you are serious about it, you will not do it. We're just fluffing about. We're here to get results out of this 1 hour session. If you are going to do it, do it. You could even do a webinar, Simon. If you're looking at ways that this is relevant for you, you could attract all the decision makers in your industry and say, I'm running a webinar on how the lead magnet that we've done.
I was actually thinking about even for a group of drivers in one room going through design features of the bag.
Right.
So it's more of a, when you said feedback, getting feedback and product development, so you're actually involving the clients.
Perfect. Yeah. Make it work. Make it work. There is so many people that are just doing the stock standard things. All right, social media, yeah, that was really good 3 years ago. When it was a new thing, now everybody's adapted that. So we need to be doing something that is different.
That's where I take that from, is that sort of stuff you could use within LinkedIn or Facebook to show that
Mhm.
it's not just a bag supplier.
Right. Yep.
We're thinking of the client.
Yep. Once you've got the content, once you've populated the content, you think about what platforms can I deliver this on. Right, fantastic. So we're going to keep working through. We're going to get to the topics is our next section. All right. But what I want you guys to look at now is the framework that I'm using. So generally, I wouldn't be standing up here with the iPad and just nobody would see this, or I'd have it memorised or whatever else. So I would be standing here just delivering on. It'd go from the logistics, and I'd talk about why that's important. Then I'd go, well, first of all, we're going to organise your calendar. Then we're going to talk about the location and venues. Then we're going to talk about the duration. Thanks, love. Ladies and gentlemen, Megan Dixon. Big hand of applause, please. Megan Dixon loves being on stage. Just get her on the camera. Thank you, Megan. Yeah. All right. So then we talk about, once it is in our calendar, where are we going to do them? All right. Webinars, okay. All right. We can do webinars from home, but whereabouts are you going to do the workshops? If you're going to do one, let's do a few. All right, we're going to find somewhere where we can get that's reasonably inexpensive to hold a workshop. But if you're going to go to the effort, I think it's a waste of time to run a workshop if you're going to run it in one place. If you're going to run it in Nowra, run it in Ulladulla, run it in Barra, run it in Goulburn, run it in Wollongong. Why wouldn't you? You've done all the hard work. It's like taking a Ferrari for a drive once every 3 months. You've got the Ferrari, get it out there. So get it down on paper. Where are you going to hold these workshops? We're here in Wollongong. It's always a good test market. If you want to be brave, you go north. It is reality that Wollongong is one of the tougher markets to deliver workshops in, to get bums on seats. It is. So what do we want to do? Do we want to go into Sutherland? Do we want to go to Campbelltown? Do we want to go to Bankstown? Do we want to go to Parramatta? Do we want to get in the city?
I was thinking
Gold
Gold Coast, Sydney, Wollongong.
Coast, Sydney. Now the reason I reckon that's the next step. So when you go to the major cities, I think it's great. But why don't we have a proven model, for instance? So why don't we pick 4, do Wollongong, do Sydney, do Sutherland, maybe do Parramatta. Yeah. So let's go and test it. Let's go and, if we're going to make mistakes, we don't want to make mistakes in front of 100 people, 200 people, 300 people. Let's make it in front of 20 people. All right? We will get used to it. And I'm going to show you soon how to actually deliver a workshop. What is the framework to actually deliver a workshop to get the best results? All right? So we've locked in the dates. We've locked in the venues. Well, not so much the venues, but the locations. Once you know the location, you can start to chunk down into, well, what sort of venues do we need to approach? If you're going to do it from Southern Highlands, Gordana, perfect. Maybe we do it in multiple places around the Southern Highlands, if there's a big enough group of people. But then you've got to do it in a venue that matches what you're delivering. All right, I was once asked to do a digital marketing and social media presentation in a Masonic club. It was a mismatch of where I was to what I was delivering. It was like an old beaten down Masonic club, and it felt people, and even a library. I've done one in a library where you sort of walk through the books and everything else, and there's this little room. That is going to attract a certain sort of audience. So you've got to be really mindful about where you're going to hold your workshop, where are you going to do it, because perception is everything. All right, and then the duration. How long are you going to do? Is it going to do a full day workshop? Are we going to do half a day? Are we going to do 3 hours? What's the number? Karen, if you were going to run a HR workshop, how long would it go for? 2 hours? Is that long enough?
Yeah, I think so, because I wouldn't want to, I'd be very specific about what I was going to talk about. So
Perfect.
I might do, if I did a series, they could be a series of different subjects.
Yeah, excellent. So you've given it thought. You know the answer. I will challenge you. Is that the perfect thing for you? Yes, it is, because of these reasons. Wonderful, no worries. That's all we need to know. All right? So the duration. Has anybody got any questions on duration? What are you sure? What do you do, Patrick, for your...
Well, in previous times, I've run a few events where I normally host them, like get software providers in. We normally run them between 5:30 and 7 at night. I ran one last night, we got 22 people to it. So.
Perfect, congratulations.
But the one that I'm thinking about in this case is a more in-depth one with our top clients, and it goes from about 10 until 3:30, 4 times a year on a quarterly basis.
Okay, great. Nice. Given it thought. You've got the structure there. Now you just got to back it up and commit to it. Yeah, well done. Okay, so now we move into the next transition. So this is how, if you were doing a workshop, you would then transition into your 4th topic. So you will see that we have got 4 quadrants that I'm going to cover off in this talk. All right, now we're going to go into the topic. But first of all, I want to talk about logistics. Then we're going to start to talk about topics, how you deliver, and then some helpful things at the end. So now I'm going to ask you guys, so if you were going to run 4 workshops over a year, if you're going to run webinars, if you're going to do something, what are 4 topics that you could run on what you do? So I want you guys to take some time and write down some topics. So if it's on HR, if it's on accounting, if it's on whatever, if it's on bags for the transport industry, start to think about what are some things I could do a workshop on? What could I do a webinar on? What would be useful for my target audience if I could give them more information to position myself as the expert? Because that is ultimately what we are doing. If you are going to do something like this, you are positioning yourself above an audience who are not prepared to do it. A trusted authority, Dr. Will. Exactly. All right, well, let's give you 3 to 5 minutes. I've added 3 points up here, guys, which might be helpful. Think about your target audience. Think about what the hot topics are for your target audience. What are the questions that they ask? And then what are your areas of genius? So where's your real strength? Because we want to make sure we highlight that. All right, so when you're looking at what your topics are, just think of that. Just had a really good chat with Simon as well. Simon manufactures bags for the delivery industry, for truckies and everything else. But Simon's partnered up with a gentleman who's given him information on truckie life welfare, like how to manage your life on the road, how to manage your health on the road, how to be away from your family, all that sort of stuff. So it's indirectly helping the people, the target audience that Simon is talking to. So think about that. You really need to think about this. And if you're serious about moving forward with it, you have to commit to it. If at any stage you think this is too hard, it probably is, which means that you need to try a little bit harder. So this is an interesting point, guys, if you just want to listen. So Jonathan is Dawson Heating and Cooling in Canberra. Now, very much a customer service-based business. So how interested are consumers in learning about heating and cooling? I mean, obviously we want to know a little bit about, you know, what best, what options are available, what are the differences and things like that. Will they come to a workshop? Maybe not. Maybe not. So this maybe is more relevant for a meeting for you, but I still think there is relevance. I think with the delivery section, I can help with that because you can do videos. Patrick?
So I just had a brain idea come to me because I have to get it out. Instead of trying to present to your customers, try and present to people that are working with your customers, like builders and people like that. Or perhaps, like, say, you could present at a Master Builders Association meeting.
Yep.
And then you become the expert. So there's a builder who goes, I need to put in an aircon in this house. Because you presented at the Master Builder thing, you're seen as the expert and he'll call you.
Well, that actually is something I have been pondering. Is one of our builders is he's just done his second one, and it was actually at the Master Builder. So you hit your nail on the head there. But
Yep.
we spoke about it about a month ago about me actually coming and just tagging onto his thing that he's already doing. So he's presenting to potential people who want to build a house and spend $1 million on their new home.
Yep.
What are your options? What are the hurdles? You know, that his is about the building process from start to
Right.
finish.
Perfect.
So then I might slot in there perfectly. and
Right.
give a good leg in the door.
Yep.
Because it's not me trying to get bums on seats. It's us together doing it.
Yep. This is all about delivering useful information to your target audience. All right. There are people who will tell you to get up here and they'll give you strategies on how to sell from stage. I'm the worst person for that. I'm here. If you want to help people, I'm the best person for that. If you want to try and help manipulate people to get them to buy something that they don't really want, I'm the wrong person. But I think also where you're coming from, and Patrick, thanks for your insight, if you position yourself as that person who is willing to offer information, to somehow even just aligning yourself with other people in your industry to deliver helpful information, you are going to position yourself better. I mean, you always look at things, is it going to help me or is it going to hurt me? It's certainly not going to hurt. And I think it's only going to be more helpful. When people look and they want to spend $1 million or they want to spend $800,000 on a build, who are you going to go for? The person who is perceived as the expert. And that's why we're doing it. All right, so the topics. Anybody struggle? Did anybody come up with 3 good ones or 4 good ones that they would like to share? Mossy?
So, can I say, Nate?
Yep.
So Nate and I have been talking about doing stuff together with his business and my business, and so we just talked about so it's primarily in the building industry.
Yep.
You know, TLC for your business, which is traffic leads and conversions. Which
Yep.
is a crave. Automating your sales process because they don't have any time.
So automating Nath's sales process?
Yeah, or their sales process.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously using his tools.
Right.
Yeah. And understanding your customer.
Right. Perfect. I mean, they're 4 very, very good topics that you could deliver. You could do individual workshops on those. I mean, I've spoken at builders like Smith & Son's annual conference where they fly you all around the place to speak at them. That's where I would go and talk. And you've got all different experts in different areas talking on the building industry. So that's where that's probably once again relevant to stay in your lane, be good at what you do, and then just really identify what are the hot topics and things that are helpful to your target audience. And then commit to it. So there's like stages to this. There's getting the topics, which is fine, but then you've got to commit to the delivery. If you don't commit to the delivery, you're still invisible. So it's important that once we've got the topics now, which we have, that we need to step up and deliver it. Did anybody struggle? Did anybody need help? Tim? Yeah? I'll come.
Well, not so much struggle with the topics because I've done a bunch, but there's some really cool tools on the internet that you can find out what people are searching for.
Yeah, great.
Like BuzzSumo, for example, you can find kind of shared content around your area of expertise.
Yep.
And if you sort of start looking at what's the most shared content, that's going to be the things that people are most interested in.
People will look for. Yeah, great. So that, yeah, perfect. BuzzSumo. There's other ones. Yeah, Market Samurai is another one. Yeah, lots of good ones. Yeah, and then you just got to find one that's relevant for your lane, where you're in. Because everything you do has got to remain relevant to the space you're playing in. Phil?
That was what I went down the normal road.
Yep.
And then just when you were chatting with Peter, I thought, yeah, we've got to find the pain point.
Yep.
And then what you said before, accentuate it,
Mm-hmm.
and then solve it.
Yeah, solve it.
So
Solve the problem.
It seemed like you're doing something like that.
Yeah, that's good. You'll like that. All right, Matt, what was your area of genius?
Well, that's strengths and things that I'm good at.
Yep.
I haven't picked my topics yet, but I've actually got a customer survey ready to go.
Great.
So I'm trying to find out what their pain points are and what people are interested in, and so then I'll pick from that.
Okay, great.
So I sort of chickened out a little bit on number one. So I'll then leverage that answer
Yep.
to what.
Excellent. So that's market research. Yeah, great. As long as you know what's the next step. And you're always asking yourself for what reason. I mean, if you're going to hold a workshop, if you're going to run a series of webinars, if you're going to do anything, you've got to ask yourself for what reason. Why am I doing this? Is it for exposure? Is it for positioning? Is it to sell into a membership group? You've got to know for what reason am I doing these things. All right. Now, delivery. This is something that people find a little bit difficult because they've got all the knowledge and they don't know how to get it out in a structure that is helpful. So do you guys mind if I share something with you, which I learned a long time ago, from a guy by the name of Joe Parnay. I don't know where he learned it, so I'll give him the credit for it. It is a model which looks like this. Why? What? How? What's next? So in this format of me talking about how to run a successful workshop, I will talk about why it's important to run workshops. Workshops are important to run because you're positioning yourself away from where everybody else is playing the game. They're on social media, whereas you can stand out from the noisy crowd and do workshops and build relationships with people. What is a workshop? So basically a workshop is where you gather a group of people from your target audience who are interested in information that you've got to deliver. They're people that you can help. How do you do it? Basically, a workshop is, how do you run a workshop? I actually thought about this and now I've forgotten it. How to run a workshop is basically having a structure and then sticking to it. It's booking a room, it's having the content, it's delivering on the content, and it's understanding for what reason. Why would you run a workshop? And then you talk about, well, what's next? So what's next for you guys is I want to share with you how I'm going to teach you guys how to run this workshop so you can go out and run your own. So this very simple framework of why it's important, what is it, how do you do it, and what's next. That simple framework, every time that I do anything, I draw this because it gives me a very good starting point for where I move on from. So Ken, when we were talking about you sort of saying, oh, I can't really run workshops, but for instance, if you were going to sit in a sales meeting or if you were going to do a pitch to someone this is the framework that you would use. Why we do things, what we do, how we do it, and then what's next. And this area here of what's next, this is all about what action, what outcome do you want to get from that meeting. So when you talk about a workshop or a webinar, what's next is, where do we go from here? Where would you like to go from here? It's the next step. So this is a very, very simple framework to do that. So when you look at what you're doing, Simon, can you see why it's important? What is it? How do we do it? Can you see how that could work? Yep. So what I want you to do now is pick one of those topics, get one of the blank pages there, draw the 4 quadrants, and then I just want you to fill it in. Grab one of the topics. Why is it important? What is it? How do we do it? And what's next? Actually, we're going to leave it there. All right, who wants to share? Why, what, how, what's next? Who wants to share? Who had a topic that they did? Phil.
Thank you, reduce your mortgage from 30 years to 7 years legally. That's my rough topic.
Yep, great.
So
I'd probably take legally off,
yeah,
because we're just going to assume it's legal anyway,
yeah.
until we get locked up and then go, oh, wasn't even legal. Yep.
Okay. So why, this is a little bit of a trick. Why do we do it? Show how to legally reduce it. So why do we do it?
Yeah.
Why do we bother to show people how to reduce their mortgage? I presume that's the question.
Yeah, why? Yeah.
So, well, the reason is this. The biggest pain point people have is their mortgage.
Yep.
30 years ago, a mortgage was 3 times salary.
Right.
Today, it's 5 times salary. The biggest cause of divorce in Australia is financial stress.
Right.
And I want to put something in there about family as well.
Okay, so that's why we do it. That's cool.
Yep.
Love it. Because we help people. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why we do it.
Yeah. What is it?
It's family.
I mean, as we move into the next one. What?
You got futures to that one. Still do pain yesterday.
Yeah, I just don't want to get divorced. No. So, yeah, so what is it?
So then I'll go, I put what, that will explain the product.
Yep.
So that'll be like a 15-minute presentation on the product.
Yep.
And then how, okay, so where do we go from here? Oh, that's the last one. How, no, just sort of bullet point. We'll analyse your situation and your suitability.
Right.
Program.
Yep.
2, we'll report on your suitability.
Yep.
3, if you accept the report.
Yep.
Sorry, 3, you accept the report. And 4 was to commence. When we commence, there's a thing to do. Bang,
Right.
Bang, bang. So what's next? Okay, call to action.
Excellent. Yes. What's the next step?
What's the next step?
Yep.
It's going to be a webinar. Hit the thing below, and I've got a super special offer.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. Well done. Round of applause for Phil. Now, the reason that the why, what, how, what's next format works so well is because Stephen DiPietro showed us that people have different learning styles. All right? So the why do we do it? So that's the big thinkers. All right? Then we go, well, what is it? So the what is it and the how do we do it, you never ever tell me how you're going to do anything because I don't care. But there are people who do. They're the technical people. They're the ones that want to know the steps to something. I don't care how you're going to do it. I just want to know what you're going to do. All right? How you do it's up to you. But there are people who will question accountants. The AD people, the auditory digital people, will want to know step by step, well, how do you intend to do that? Okay, so the why, what, how, what's next format basically encompasses all the different learning modalities. All right? So if you can do that and just stick to it, and if you ever get stuck, so if you ever get stuck up on stage, or if you're doing a workshop and you're delivering your content, you just go back to the why, what, how, what's next. And if you go, shit, I don't know which section I'm up to, just pick one. Just pick one. Well, how do we do that? Or what is it? You just go, right, and then you're back into it. Because once we get going, as long as we get out of our head, a lot of the time when people get up on stage, they get in their head and they think too much and they forget about the people that they're talking to. You do that sometimes. So if you do that, just go back into the format and go, right, okay. And then you start talking again. You get out of your head space into your heart space and then you start delivering again. That's why it's important, so you don't get stuck. All right? Now, the last thing is on the delivery. What is the key takeaway or activity? If you are going to hold a workshop, what is the key takeaway or activity you want people to walk out of your space in? So, for me, when I think about these 2 days, I want you to come away with a clear marketing plan and some sales strategies that are going to improve your marketing and increase your sales. I've got 4 fantastic speakers that I've surrounded myself with who are going to give you the knowledge. What you do with that knowledge is up to you, but I'm going to do everything I can to help facilitate that delivery of information and package that up into a plan that you are going to use when you go out of this room. That is my key takeaway for you guys. So think about, what is the key takeaway that you want when you deliver your workshop, deliver your webinar, whatever it is? What is the key takeaway? Do you want to give people knowledge? Do you want to make them more informed so they're going to make a better decision? Why are you doing it? What for? Do you want people to know more about Australian animals, reptiles, whatever it is, so they've got a greater knowledge of, you know, the huge range of animals and wildlife that we have in Australia? Perfect. We just need to know what for. What is the takeaway? All right, so Gordana, what would yours be? What would be the takeaway if you were going to do a workshop or something similar? What would it be? Because I'm fascinated. I like the way you're thinking with this.
Well, just basically to have a better understanding of why they're using the products that they're using, why they're doing the treatments,
Yep.
or why they're getting the treatments, what benefits it gives them,
Yeah.
and return clientele at the end of the day.
So the more they understand and the more that you volunteer the information and give it to them, do they become a better customer?
Possibly.
Possibly that way more so than that way.
Yeah.
Are they going to spend more money with you? Possibly. Possibly more that way than definitely not that way. So who knows? But at the end of the day, you're going to sleep well because you know that you are giving good information and you are genuinely trying to help the people you serve. That's a good place to be. So at the end of the day, you might get 0 sales, but you know I'm doing a good job. I'm doing what other people are not prepared to do. All right, so if nothing else, but a consequence of doing the right thing is that good things will come. I'm sure of it. The takeaway is, what do you want to give? What is the outcome for your client? So my outcome for you is to have a plan. What would the outcome be for me if you were telling me about how to reduce my mortgage from 30 years to 7? Okay. So the takeaway for you... Yep, so I'm attending your seminar. Yep, what do you want me to take away from it? If I'm... What is the learning? Do you want to give me the tools? Yeah, you want to increase my vocabulary in the mortgage finance space? Yeah, then that's a takeaway. Just like Gordana's saying, she's giving people knowledge.
Would it be the takeaway on that theme I had, that give you peace of mind, marriage stability, not become one of the 6% statistics?
Yeah, I'd possibly dance around that really delicately.
Yeah, I know, but it's a fact.
It is a fact, but sometimes we don't always want to know the bad stuff. All right, we can go two ways, is away from pain or towards pleasure. Possibly towards pleasure. Don't get divorced, fix your mortgage up, or how can I save you money and reduce the term of your mortgage? Yeah, we got there, didn't we? Got it on video as well, so we'll revisit that. All right, so we're going to finish off because I want to get Ellie up here because she's going to do a cracking job up next on chatbots. Helpful hints, all right? So Dorso and I just had a chat. We're going to go straight to relationships, or partnerships, sorry. Partnerships are key. So you do not see me up here on this stage for 2 days. Very rarely do you even see me do 1 hour. I surround myself with these amazingly fantastic women down the back, and Stephen DiPietro this morning, and Darren Roberts tomorrow afternoon. I do not know everything. I don't profess to know everything. I can run a 2-day boot camp. We can have our VIP group where I can deliver more value. But as far as doing this boot camp on sales and marketing and delivering it all myself, there's only so much that one person can know. So I surround myself with these wonderful people and I expose them to you guys. So Dorso had a good point. So with his air conditioning, he can get other industry experts to come in and they can do a 1-day or 2-day thing together. in the building game. And so they complement each other and they bounce off each other. So Dorso doesn't have to be across everything. He just stays in his lane and be what you're good at. If you're good at social media, stay in that lane. If you're good at automation, stay in that lane. If you try and be all things, and I've seen it in this game particularly a lot, people profess to be the master at all. I think we're too smart. You can see through that. No one's that good that they can be across absolutely everything. All right? So partnerships are a good one. You can create partnerships with our wonderful friends at Y Documentaries who do the videoing. Sandra. What about Andrew over at Creative Visions who do our workbooks? We couldn't do this without them. We have complementary partnerships that work. Otherwise, this doesn't work. So you've got to think laterally about who can I partner with to create a mutually beneficial relationship. Mutually beneficial. Two very key words. It has to be beneficial for both parties. Otherwise, there's an imbalance. Doesn't work. Okay? So think about that. We can do venues. You can just think in a broad way what you need to bring a workshop together or a webinar or whatever it is. To have partnerships, to do it with others is much more fun. I love hanging out with our speakers. I think you guys love having the variety. Who'd keep coming back every 12 months to see me do the same sales and marketing spiel? Karen, that's why you're the best. Peter didn't put his hand up. That's why you're the favourite. All right, so do it with people. Get some partnerships. Preparation is key. I should have put preparation and commitment to the preparation is key. You don't just do this if you are undercooked. People will see right through you. If you are scrambling up here, people will see right through you. You will lose credibility from the off. If you cannot be organised and run a somewhat smooth workshop or seminar, you can't be relaxed. You can't be at your best. You're too worried about yourself than what you are about the other people. Any webinar, any workshop you run is not about you. It's about the people who are prepared to give up their time. Well, Barney flew down from Queensland yesterday. People who are prepared to give up their time to come and spend time with you. It is about everybody in this room has got nothing to do with me. But if you are not organised, you are scrambling, you are trying to work the logistics of it. Hey, how you going? Good, yeah, I'll be there in a sec. I can't this to work. Doesn't work. You relax. You've got to be prepared. You've got to be organised. Very, very important. Number 3, and this is key. Understand what's next. What is the purpose of what you are doing? Why are you doing it? Don't just say, Stephen told me to do a workshop. I did it. Happy, yeah, good on you. Understand that this is a process that leads to whatever it is. Is it a sale? Is it a relationship? Is it a JV? What is it? Why would you take the time and the effort to run a workshop? If you're very clear on that, that will be the driver for you. And sometimes you don't get the numbers you want. So what? Who in the game hasn't always had 50, 100 people in the room? I always said from day one that if one person turns up, I will give 100%. Because that's all I need. Because that means that one person has taken time out of their day to put their faith in me to give them knowledge they need to grow their business. All right? So if you know the why, you know the outcome, that is what will drive you and get you out of bed and keep you moving forward. All right? Was that helpful? One last question. I was going to end it on a bang then. It was like the comedian who goes, final joke. Thanks, guys. You've been great.
You said something between preparation and key. There's another word. I was going to write it down.
Commitment. Commitment to the preparation. That is so important. Don't be that pretender. Don't be the person who says, I'm going to do all these things and not do it. It's going to hurt. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be like the lobster who grows and you shed your shell and then you will grow a new one. And you will shed that shell as well. As you grow, you will become uncomfortable and then you will become comfortable. Then you need to grow out of that and become uncomfortable again. That is how we make progress. Andrew.
When do we get to eat the lobster?
That's a good question. All right, guys, hope that's been very helpful. We're going to have a break for 15 minutes. Was that good?